Question 1. Microeconomic theory studies how an economy determines. Options. A. The price of goods. B. The price of services. C. The price of economic resources. D. All of the above. Answer. D. All of the above. Question 2. A producer's positively sloped supply curve for a commodity represents. Options. A. In one sense a maximum and in another sense a minimum boundary of the producer's intentions. B. A maximum boundary of the producer's intentions. C. A minimum boundary of the producer's intentions. D. None of the above. Answer. A. In one sense a maximum and in another sense a minimum boundary of the producer's intentions. Question 3. The theory of distribution refers to. Options. A. The distribution of income among various factors of the production. B. The distribution of income among different individuals in the economy. C. Both of the above. D. None of these. Answer. A. The distribution of income among various factors of the production. Question 4. Interest as reward for parting with liquidity according to. Options. A. B. Olin. B. Von Habeler. C. J. M. Keynes. D. Alfred Marshall. Answer. C. J. M. Keynes. Question 5. Economics may be divided into macroeconomics and microeconomics. Among the subject matter of microeconomics may be found. Options. A. The nature of value in exchange. B. The size of a country's national income. C. The allocation of resources among competing uses. D. The relative prices of specific services. Answer. D. The relative prices of specific services. Question 6. The statement that economics is positive and not normative means. Options. A. That economics can be used to prove that capitalism is better than socialism. B. That economics tells us what kind of economic behavior or policy is wholesome and what evil. C. That economics tells policymakers which alternative to choose from among several efficient ones. D. That economics can only indicate consequences of policies, choices, or conditions. Answer. D. That economics can only indicate consequences of policies, choices, or conditions. Question 7. Which of the following statements is incorrect? Options. A. Microeconomics is primarily concerned with the problem of what, how, and for whom to produce. B. Microeconomics is primarily concerned with the behavior of individual decision-making units when at equilibrium. C. Microeconomics is primarily concerned with the time path and process by which one equilibrium position evolves into another. D. Microeconomics is primarily concerned with comparative static rather dynamics. Answer. A. Microeconomics is primarily concerned with the problem of what, how, and for whom to produce. Question 8. Economic laws may be described as. Options. A. Principles derived from analysis of price input-output determination. B. Generations concerning the economic behavior of individuals and institutions. C. Forecasts in quantitative terms of the economic development of society. D. Expression of the basic features of competition. Answer. B. Generations concerning the economic behavior of individuals and institutions. Question 9. The main difference between positive economics and normative economics is that the former. Options. A. Discusses the ethical implications of its laws. B. Concerns itself only with hypotheses which can generally be tested. C. Is based on the value judgments of economists. D. Considers carefully the political significance of its laws for a democratic society. Answer. B. Concerns itself only with hypotheses which can generally be tested. Question 10. Adam Singh advocates. Options. A. Laissez-faire. B. Division of labor. C. Both of the above. D. None of the above. Answer. C. Both of the above. Question 11. The term consumer goods is used by economists to refer to. Options. A. Goods produced for consumers in a free market only. B. Goods other than free goods, whose use directly satisfies consumers' wants. C. Goods produced by consumers in return for a wage. D. Goods which are used by consumers in order to earn their living. Answer. B. Goods other than free goods, whose use directly satisfies consumers' wants. Question 12. The basic characteristic of a capitalistic economy is. Options. A. Full employment. B. The private ownership of the means of production. C. An absence of monopoly. D. Large-scale production in primary industries. Answer. B. The private ownership of the means of production. Question 13. In a free capitalist society, the allocation of the factors of production among the various productive activities is determined by. Options. A. The pattern of consumer spending. B. The traditional employment of locals. C. Decisions of the government. D. The wealth of the entrepreneurs. Answer. A. The pattern of consumer spending. Question 14. Who believed that an automatic equilibrating mechanism of the perfectly competitive market, known invisible hand, tended to maximize national wealth? Options. A. Adam Smith. B. Keynes. C. J.B. Say. D. None of the above. Answer. C. J.B. Say. Question 15. The fundamental economic problem being faced as one of. Options. A. Consumer's choice. B. Decision making by the government. C. Multiplicity of wants and scarcity of resources. D. Shortage of labor. Answer. C. Multiplicity of wants and scarcity of resources. Question 16. Which one of the following is not directly the concern of the economist? Options. A. Aid to underdeveloped countries. B. The effect of an increase in bank rate. C. The choice between alternative sites for a factory. D. The use of taxation to discourage smoking of cigarettes. Answer. C. The choice between alternative sites for a factory. Question 17. The meaning of the word economic is most closely connected with the word. Options. A. Free. B. Scarce. C. Unlimited. D. Restricted. Answer. C. Unlimited. Question 18. Which of the following is not an economic problem? Options. A. Deciding between extra paid work and extra leisure. B. Deciding between different ways of spending leisure time. C. Deciding on the level and form of personal saving. D. Deciding between expenditure on one good and another. Answer. B. Deciding between different ways of spending leisure time. Question 19. Which one of the following statement is not true? Options. A. Exchange is one method of helping to solve the basic economic problem. B. The basic economic problem is one of choice. C. Choice is necessary because of limited wants. D. The means to satisfy wants, i.e., the factors of production, are limited. Answer. C. Choice is necessary because of limited wants. Question 20. Who gave scarcity definition of economics? Options. A. Adam Smith. B. Robbins. C. Keynes. D. J.B. Say. Answer. B. Robbins. Question 21. Who is known as the father of economics? Options. A. Keynes. B. Ricardo. C. Adam Smith. D. J.S. Mill. Answer. C. Adam Smith. Question 22. Many of the basic problems of economics emerge from. Options. A. Unlimited resources. B. Incompetent gov. C. The use of limited resources to satisfy human wants. D. Unlimited wants. Answer. C. The use of limited resources to satisfy human wants. Question 23. The utility may be defined as. Options. A. The power of a commodity to satisfy wants. B. The desire for a commodity. C. The usefulness of a commodity. D. The necessity of a commodity. Answer. A. The power of a commodity to satisfy wants. Question 24. The utility of a commodity is. Options. A. Its expected social value. B. Its relative scarcity. C. The extent of its practical use. D. The degree of its fashion. Answer. B. Its relative scarcity. Question 25. Marginal utility curve of a given consumer is also his. Options. A. Indifference curve. B. Demand curve. C. Supply curve. D. Total utility curve. Answer. B. Demand curve. Question 26. The total utility is maximum when. Options. A. Mu is 0. B. O is the highest. C. Mu is the highest. D. Mu is equal to O. Answer. A. Mu is 0. Question 27. The law of diminishing marginal utility states that. Options. A. As more of a commodity is consumed, total satisfaction diminishes. B. The more you have of a particular commodity, the less you want more of it. C. As more units of a commodity are produced, the price of the commodity will fall. D. The consumption of further units of a commodity will bring a steady increase in the amount of satisfaction obtained. Answer. B. The more you have of a particular commodity, the less you want more of it. Question 28. The law of diminishing returns or increasing cost will operate at an earlier level in agriculture than in industry because. Options. A. More mechanization is applicable to agriculture. B. Agriculture is an industry where land is used extensively. C. Less mechanization is applicable to agriculture. D. More labor is used in agriculture. Answer. B. Agriculture is an industry where land is used extensively. Question 29. Opportunity costs are also known as. Options. A. Spillover costs. B. Alternative cost. C. Social costs. D. Money costs. Answer. B. Alternative cost. Question 30. An increase in the price of a commodity, other things remaining same, results in. Options. A. Increase in pricing. B. Increases in quantity supplied. C. Increase in demand. D. Taxes. Answer. B. Increases in quantity supplied. Question 31. Supply remaining constant, if demand increases, price will. Options. A. Rise. B. Remains constant. C. Fluctuate. D. Fall. Answer. A. Rise. Question 32. Perfect competition is said to exist if. Options. A. There are homogeneous products. B. Each firm in the industry accepts the market price because it has to accept it. C. Price is fixed not by a firm. D. All of the above. Answer. D. All of the above. Question 33. Consumer's surplus is highest in case of. Options. A. Luxuries. B. Necessities. C. Comforts. D. Conventional necessities. Answer. B. Necessities. Question 34. A given goods is one for which, in response to a small change in price. Options. A. A zero income effect is just outweighed by a positive substitution effect. B. A negative income effect is just outweighed by a positive substitution effect. C. A zero income effect is matched by a zero substitution effect. D. A negative income effect outweighed any substitution effect. Answer. B. A negative income effect is just outweighed by a positive substitution effect. Question 35. Which is correct? Options. A. An increase of demand is not the same thing as an extension of demand. B. An increase of demand is the same thing as an extension of demand. C. An increase of demand is just equal to the extension of demand. D. All the above statements are wrong. Answer. A. An increase of demand is not the same thing as an extension of demand. Question 36. Demand means. Options. A. The desire and willingness of an individual for all goods and services for his standard of living. B. The desire, ability, and willingness of an individual to purchase goods and services at a given time and price. C. Both A and B. D. None of the above. Answer. B. The desire, ability, and willingness of an individual to purchase goods and services at a given time and price. Question 37. The demand function for a commodity is defined as. Options. A. Quantity demanded as a function of the goods own price, the price of the substitute, and the buyer's income. B. Price of substitutes as a function of the goods own prices. C. Quantity demanded as a function of the price of other goods. D. All the above. Answer. A. Quantity demanded as a function of the goods own price, the price of the substitute, and the buyer's income. Question 38. In the typical demand schedule, quantity demanded. Options. A. Varies directly with price. B. Varies proportionately with price. C. Is independent of price. D. Varies inversely with price. Answer. D. Varies inversely with price. Question 39. Law of demand states that when. Options. A. Income rises, demand rises. B. Price rises, demand rises. C. Price falls, demand falls. D. Price falls, demand rises. Answer. D. Price falls, demand rises. Question 40. The law of demand indicates. Options. A. The relationship between income and quantity demanded. B. The relationship between price of a commodity and price of its substitutes. C. The relationship between price of two commodity. D. The relationship between the price of commodity and the quantity demanded. Answer. D. The relationship between the price of commodity and the quantity demanded. Question 41. Which of the following conditions is required condition for the operation of law of demand? Options. A. Price of substitute change. B. Income and taste of consumer remains constant. C. Production does not increase. D. Taste of the consumer change. Answer. B. Income and taste of consumer remains constant. Question 42. Demand curve shows. Options. A. Inverse relationship between quantity made and its cost of production. B. Inverse relationship between the rate of change of demand and price. C. Inverse relationship between the rate of change in demand and cost of production at a given times. D. Direct relationship between the demand and the price of a commodity at a given time. Answer. B. Inverse relationship between the rate of change of demand and price. Question 43. When we say that a demand curve for a commodity slopes downwards to the right, we mean. Options. A. More of the commodity will be demanded as income increase. B. More of the commodity will be demanded as the price of the substitutes falls. C. More of the commodity will be demanded as population rise. D. More of the commodity will be demanded as its own price falls. Answer. D. More of the commodity will be demanded as its own price falls. Question 44. A fall in the price of a commodity leads to. Options. A. A shift in demand. B. A fall in demand. C. A fall in the consumer's real income. D. A rise in the consumer's real income. Answer. D. A rise in the consumer's real income. Question 45. An exceptional demand curve is one that slopes. Options. A. Upward to the left. B. Upward to the right. C. Downward to the right. D. Horizontal. Answer. B. Upward to the right. Question 46. Which one is not an exception to the law of demand? Options. A. Ignorance. B. Inferior good. C. Normal good. D. Articles of distinction. Answer. C. Normal good. Question 47. Demand for a commodity is elastic when has. Options. A. Only one use. B. Many use. C. Uses, which cannot be postponed. D. Uses very essential for the consumer. Answer. B. Many use. Question 48. Which of the following pairs of commodities is an example of substitute? Options. A. Coffee and milk. B. Mustard oil and coconut oil. C. Diamond and cow. D. Pen and ink. Answer. B. Mustard oil and coconut oil. Question 49. For most customers, apples and oranges are substitute goods. Therefore, we would expect a rise in the price of apples to lead to. Options. A. A rightward shift in the supply curve of oranges. B. A leftward shift in the supply curve of oranges. C. A fall in the price of oranges. D. An upward change in the demand curve of oranges. Answer. D. An upward change in the demand curve of oranges. Question 50. A change in climate conditions resulting in hot weather, price remaining the same, would cause a consumer of cold drinks. Options. A. To move to a lower curve. B. To move lower down the demand curve. C. To move to a higher demand curve. D. To move up the same demand curve. Answer. C. To move to a higher demand curve. Question 51. When an individual's income falls while everything else remains the same, his demand for an inferior goods. Options. A. Increase. B. Remaining unchanged. C. We cannot say without additional information. D. Decrease. Answer. D. Decrease. Question 52. A fall in the price of a commodity whose demand curve is a rectangular hyperbola causes total expenditure on the commodity to. Options. A. Remain unchanged. B. Increase. C. Decrease. D. Any of the above. Answer. A. Remain unchanged. Question 53. The relationship between demand for a commodity and price, ceteris paribus, is. Options. A. Negative. B. Positive. C. Non-negative. D. Non-positive. Answer. A. Negative. Question 54. Other things being equal, a decrease in the quantity supplied to the market at given prices leads to options. A. A higher price and a contraction of demand. B. A higher price and an expansion of demand. C. A higher price and an expansion of demand. D. A lower price and a contraction of demand. Answer. D. A lower price and a contraction of demand. Question 55. Law of demand explains. Options. A. Quantitative relationship between price and demand. B. Qualitative relationship between price and demand. C. Relationship between demand and supply. D. Rate of change in price and demand. Answer. C. Relationship between demand and supply. Question 56. We can say with certainty that when the demand for TVs increases in the long run, prices. Options. A. Will go down. B. Will go up. C. Change proportionately. D. Cannot be predicted with the knowledge of elasticity of demand. Answer. D. Cannot be predicted with the knowledge of elasticity of demand. Question 57. In the normal demand schedule, quantity demanded. Options. A. Varies directly with price. B. Is independent of price. C. Varies inversely with price. D. Varies proportionately with price. Answer. C. Varies inversely with price. Question 58. An example of derived demand is demand for. Options. A. Pen and ink. B. Wool and mutton. C. Petrol and car. D. None of the above. Answer. D. None of the above. Question 59. By increase in demand we mean. Options. A. Movement upwards on a demand curve. B. Movement downwards on demand curve. C. Shifting upwards of a demand curve. D. None of these. Answer. C. Shifting upwards of a demand curve. Question 60. Law of demand operates because of. Options. A. Price changes. B. The principle of different income. C. Changes in advertisement expenses. D. None of the above. Answer. A. Price changes. Question 61. Multiple uses of a commodity will make the demand go up when. Options. A. Price increases. B. Price remains the same. C. Price falls down. D. None of the above. Answer. C. Price falls down. Question 62. Status symbol goods are. Options. A. Veblen goods. B. Exception to law of demand. C. Goods of conspicuous consumption. D. All of the above. Answer. D. All of the above. Question 63. Price-demand relationship in the case of given goods is. Options. A. Inverse. B. Direct. C. Absent. D. None of the above. Answer. B. Direct. Question 64. The downward sloping demand curve may be partly explained by the income effect, which refers to. Options. A. People's tendency to save more as their real incomes fall in the short period. B. An increase or decrease in the amount of a good purchased because of a price-induced change in the purchasing power of a fixed income. C. Changes in the relative importance of good purchased because of changes in the community's tastes resulting from adverting. D. Changes in the distribution of income in a community. Answer. B. An increase or decrease in the amount of a good purchased because of a price-induced change in the purchasing power of a fixed income. Question 65. The demand curve for a commodity is generally drawn on the assumption that. Options. A. The commodity has no substitutes. B. Tastes, income and other prices remain constant. C. The average household consists of two persons. D. Purchases of the commodity are made by a free market. Answer. B. Tastes, income and other prices remain constant. Question 66. A fall in the price of a commodity leads to. Options. A. A shift in demand. B. A fall in demand. C. A rise in consumers' real income. D. A fall in the consumer's real income. Answer. C. A rise in consumers' real income. Question 67. In the case of given good like bajra, a fall in its price tends to. Options. A. Make the demand remain constant. B. Reduce the demand. C. Increase the demand. D. Change demand in an abnormal way. Answer. B. Reduce the demand. Question 68. Which of the following pairs of commodities is an example of substitutes? Options. A. Coffee and milk. B. Diamond and cow. C. Pen and ink. D. Mustard oil and coconut oil. Answer. D. Mustard oil and coconut oil. Question 69. For most consumers, apples and oranges are substitute goods. Therefore, we would expect a rise in the price of apples to lead to. Options. A. A rightward shift in the demand curve of oranges. B. A leftward shift in the supply curve of apples. C. A downward change in the demand curve of oranges. D. A fall in the price of oranges. Answer. A. A rightward shift in the demand curve of oranges. Question 70. A change in climatic conditions resulting in hot weather, price remaining the same, would cause a consumer of cold drink. Options. A. To move to a higher demand curve. B. To move up the same demand curve. C. To move lower down the curve. D. To move to a lower demand curve. Answer. A. To move to a higher demand curve. Question 71. If two goods are complementary, this means that a rise in the price of one commodity will induce. Options. A. An upward shift in demand for the other commodity. B. A rise in the price of the other commodity. C. A downward shift in demand for other commodity. D. No shift in demand for the other commodity. Answer. C. A downward shift in demand for other commodity. Question 72. If more is demanded at the same price or same quantity at a higher price, this fact of demand is known as. Options. A. Extension of demand. B. Increase of demand. C. Contraction of demand. D. Decrease of demand. Answer. B. Increase of demand. Question 73. Other things being equal, a decrease in demand can be caused by. Options. A. Rise in the price of the commodity. B. A rise in the income of the consumer. C. A fall in the price of the commodity. D. A fall in the income of the consumer. Answer. D. A fall in the income of the consumer. Question 74. An increase in demand can result from. Options. A. A decline in market price. B. An increase in income. C. A reduction in the price of substitutes. D. An increase in the price of complementary goods. A. All the above. Answer. B. An increase in income. Question 75. Which of the following circumstances would be likely to bring about a change in the demand schedule for a product? Options. A. A fall in the price of the product. B. An increase in the number of potential consumers. C. A new method of producing the product. D. Both are and B. Answer. D. Both are and B. Question 76. If the price of good A affects the demand for good B, then. Options. A. A is a substitute for B. B. B is complement of A. C. Changes in the price of A will cause movement along the demand schedule for A. D. Changes in the price of A will shift or change the demand for B. Answer. D. Changes in the price of A will shift or change the demand for B. Question 77. Cross demand is the change in the quantity demanded of a given commodity in response to the. Options. A. Change in the utility of another commodity. B. Change in the price of another commodity. C. Change in the nature of another commodity. D. Change in the size of another commodity. Answer. B. Change in the price of another commodity. Question 78. The law of demand states that. Options. A. Demand increases with increase in income. B. When income and prices rise, the demand also rises. C. When income and prices rise, the demand also rises. D. When price increases, demand increases. Answer. C. When income and prices rise, the demand also rises. Question 79. A consumer's equilibrium choice or position is one at which. Options. A. His savings are maximized. B. His assets are maximized. C. His satisfaction is maximum. D. Price of goods is maximized. Answer. C. His satisfaction is maximum. Question 80. For most consumers, milk and tea are substitute goods. Therefore, we should expect a rise in price of milk to lead to. Options. A. A rightward shift in the supply curve of tea. B. A leftward shift in the supply curve of tea. C. A fall in the price of tea. D. An upward shift in the demand curve for tea. Answer. D. An upward shift in the demand curve for tea. Question 81. Other things being equal, a fall-like contraction in demand can be caused by a. Options. A. Rise in prices of the substitute. B. Rise in prices of the substitute. C. Rise in the income of the consumer. D. Rise in the price of the commodity. Answer. D. Rise in the price of the commodity. Question 82. The demand for a good is elastic if. Options. A. The demand for that good increases when price falls. B. A decrease in price results in a decrease in total expenditure. C. The quantity demanded increases less than proportionately with the decrease in price level. D. None of these. Answer. C. The quantity demanded increases less than proportionately with the decrease in price level. Question 83. A rightwards shifts in supply schedule indicates. Options. A. A decrease in supply. B. A decrease in quantity supply. C. An increase in quantity supply. D. An increase in supply. Answer. D. An increase in supply. Question 84. A rightwards shift in supply curve indicates. Options. A. A decrease in supply. B. An increase in quantity supplied. C. An increase in supply. D. None of the above. Answer. C. An increase in supply. Question 85. A supply curve will generally take an upward sloping form left to right because. Options. A. Market price is normally above total costs of production. B. Consumers' income tend to increase in the long period. C. Producers' costs tend to increase as their output expands. D. Supply of most goods is essentially a short-term phenomenon. Answer. C. Producers' costs tend to increase as their output expands. Question 86. Other things being equal, an increase in supply can caused by. Options. A. A rise in the price of the commodity. B. An improvement in the techniques of production. C. A rise in the income of the consumer. D. An increase in the income of the seller. Answer. D. An increase in the income of the seller. Question 87. The shift of the supply curve for a commodity to the left may indicate, other things being equal, that. Options. A. Shares in the producing firms are in great demand on the stock exchange. B. Producers of the commodity wish to make and sell less at same price. C. Prices raw materials used in the production of the commodity have fallen. D. Wages paid to the producer's employees have fallen. Answer. B. Producers of the commodity wish to make and sell less at same price. Question 88. Ceteris paribus, a decrease in quantity supplied of a commodity can be caused by. Options. A. A fall in its price. B. Fall in income. C. Rise in price. D. Fall in raw material. Answer. A. A fall in its price. Question 89. The supply schedule for a commodity is usually assumed to be directly open to influence by all the following except. Options. A. The quantity demanded. B. The prices of the factors of production. C. The costs of production. D. The prices of other goods. Answer. A. The quantity demanded. Question 90. Which of the following could explain why the supply curve for a commodity slopes downwards? Options. A. Producers do not like increasing production. B. Producers have to lower price to induce consumers to buy more. C. Costs fall as production increases. D. Diminishing marginal utility is in operation. Answer. C. Costs fall as production increases. Question 91. Free trade area denotes. Options. A. Pply of laissez-faire. B. A group of countries which have decided to impose no duties of any kind on imports from other members of the group. C. Free exports and imports. D. All the above. Answer. B. A group of countries which have decided to impose no duties of any kind on imports from other members of the group. Question 92. Temporary control of inflation can be affected by. Options. A. Lowering bank rate. B. Purchasing of securities by RBI. C. Restraint on the growth of money supply. D. None of these. Answer. C. Restraint on the growth of money supply. Question 93. The term hyperinflation is used to denote. Options. A. Creeping inflation. B. Step-by-step inflation. C. A. Runaway or galloping inflationary situation where the monetary unit becomes almost worthless. D. None of these. Answer. C. A. Runaway or galloping inflationary situation where the monetary unit becomes almost worthless. Question 94. 94. In calculating a country's GNP at market prices, one of the following is not included. Options. A. Depreciation. B. Net factor income from abroad. C. Net indirect taxes. D. Transfer payment. Answer. D. Transfer payment. Question 95. Indian economy can be best described as. Options. A. Developed economy. B. Undeveloped economy. C. Developing economy. D. Underdeveloped. Answer. C. Developing economy. Question 96. The term balance of trade means. Options. A. Difference between exports and imports. B. Net exports including merchandise. C. The difference between the cost of the imports and exports of a country. D. A and C. Answer. D. A and C. Question 97. The open market operations refer to the sale and purchase by the RBI of. Options. A. Foreign exchange. B. Gold. C. Government securities. D. All C, the above. Answer. D. All C, the above. Question 98. At full employment level, which of the following would be most likely to lead to inflation? Options. A. A fall in taxation with no changes in government expenditure. B. An increase in productivity without any increase in wages. C. A fall in investment with no change in prosperity to consumer. D. A rise in the prosperity to save with no change in investment. Answer. A. A fall in taxation with no changes in government expenditure. Question 99. Deflation is. Options. A. Deficit budget. B. Reduction in taxation. C. Contraction in volume of money or credit that results in a decline of price level. D. Increase in public expenditure. Answer. C. Contraction in volume of money or credit that results in a decline of price level. Question 100. Bank rate means. Options. A. Interest rate charged by moneylenders. B. Interest rate charged by the scheduled banks. C. Rate of profit of the banking institution. D. The official rate of interest charged by the central bank of the country. Microeconomic theory studies how an economy determines. Answer. D. The official rate of interest charged by the central bank of the country. Microeconomic theory studies how an economy determines.